The White House is on high alert for an Iranian attack on Israel, one that could draw U.S. forces more deeply into this ongoing conflict. National Security Spokesman John Kirby says an attack could occur at any time, all of it in retaliation for the recent assassinations of top leaders of Hamas and Hezbollah. America beefing up its military presence there in the Middle East, deploying a nuclear-powered guided missile submarine and an aircraft carrier strike group to that region to help Israel defend against any strikes by Iran or its proxies. At the same time, the U.S. joined the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and Italy in calling for renewed talks aimed at a ceasefire in Gaza, but hopes for that ceasefire seem to be dwindling.
Yeah, the statement reads in part, quote, "We expressed our full support for ongoing efforts to de-escalate tensions and reach a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. We endorsed a joint call to renew talks later this week with an aim to concluding the deal as soon as possible."
The statement also expresses support for defending Israel against Iranian aggression and warns of, quote, serious consequences if an attack occurs.
Let's go out to Tel Aviv with correspondent Sarah Coates, who has the latest there on the ground. That region rightfully and understandably on edge this morning. We could be on the brink of something significant, to say the least. Officials have signaled that an Iranian strike may begin as soon as this week. If they go ahead and do this, which they seem ready to do, what does that mean for potential escalation here?
Certainly, it is a very real possibility. It would be catastrophic. What we would likely see is Iran mobilizing this so-called axis of resistance. These are these Iranian proxies like the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, and of course militants in both Syria and Iraq. Now, all of the analysts that I've been speaking to really about this over the past few weeks, they've been telling me that what would very likely happen is that so many missiles and drones would be shot from so many different fronts into Israeli territory that this would very likely overwhelm Israel's multi-layered air defense system, really wear it down and cause mass casualties, not just here on the ground in Israel, but of course just over the border in Lebanon. So this is certainly why we've been seeing many of these facilities in the north, hospitals, preparing for a mass casualty scenario. They've actually been setting up underground bunkers, training their staff around the clock for these sort of scenarios. So it really would be an unprecedented event, one of course that is being very feared here in Israel and of course in Lebanon. Certainly something that nobody wants. Now, we of course do know that the United States has accelerated the deployment of more military hardware to the region, while Israeli officials, they've been coming out to say that they are ready for any scenario.
We have very broad attack plans and are highly prepared for execution. Hezbollah is planning to act. We are not waiting for the other side. We attack all the time and remove threats as soon as we detect them. We are at peak readiness for this mission.
And over the past few days, Israeli troops have actually been conducting very large-scale drills in Israel's north, once again preparing for a scenario where Hezbollah may also join the fight.
Sarah, there are reports that Secretary of State Antony Blinken will arrive in the region later today. How can his arrival ease any of those tensions?
Well, this is more of this intensive diplomacy that's really been going on for these past few weeks, these past few months, to try and bring down tensions in the region. Now, we do understand that the Secretary of State, he would make a number of stops. These would be in Egypt, Doha, here in Israel, and potentially Iran. And that really hinges on whether Iran has actually attacked Israel by this evening. So certainly Antony Blinken really trying to bring down tensions. And we do need to remember, of course, that these ceasefire and hostage negotiations, they will kick off once again on Thursday. Still unclear as to whether Hamas will actually send a delegation or not. We are hearing reports now that Egyptian officials are trying to press the group to actually join these negotiations to try and get something out of these months and months of talks with a lot of hope, really, I think you could say, here on the ground, that if some sort of ceasefire did come into play in Gaza and these hostages were released, that could potentially bring down tensions between Israel and Iran.
All right, correspondent Sarah Coates live in Tel Aviv for us. Thank you, Sarah.